Hey, it's Chris and Brian here, and this morning we're doing a little updating in our lab with the new version of the UniFi Network Application. I guess they call it the SDN, is what Chris said. And basically, we have ours hosted in the cloud, and we also have one in a lab environment. So Chris is testing out in the lab environment first. And Chris, maybe you could just hit on a couple of the new features when you do this update.
Yeah, so I'm comparing it to like the old not version 8, version 7, 7.8. So the jump from 7.8 to like 8.1. Personally, I was already on 8.03 or 8.0 and then I upgraded to this latest one that came out the other day. I didn't have any issues with it. Occasionally in the past, like when I went from 7 to 8, when that Mongo database gets updated, sometimes, the script that reinstalls UniFi may be borked, at least in my experience, but I had no issues updating this one. It went right through. I just had to readopt my access point, which, that happens from time to time anyways. But so far, like if you look on this left-hand page, this is the older version 7, and this is the latest version of 8.1. You'll see all these new tabs. So like port manager here. This brings me right into the switch, whereas before I'd have to go to find UniFi devices, click on a switch, port manager, and then I'm at that page. Now just at a click, boom, you're there. Another one is if you go over to UniFi devices, you see how there's a pop-out menu for each device you're opening and you can get some info on it. Now what we have is you can say I click on this one, then I click on my switch. Now I have this tab feature. So you can tab between whatever open panels you have. And that's not enabled by default. So you'd have to go under System, Advanced, and then right here, Side Panel Tabs. You just want to check that, apply, save it, whatever, and then you'd have access to it. Now, this has been the topology. This has always been kind of a mixed bag because, like, this is what it normally looks like what you see here. And like, I don't know, you got to change, zoom in, zoom out to to see everything. Now they got this rotate feature. So now, now it looks like it's much more visible, in my opinion. Like if you want to take a look at your whole topology there.
Yeah, better for the new monitors nowadays, right? Where they're
Yeah.
more rectangular rather than square.
Well, yeah, the higher resolutions. And
High
I mean,
resolution.
even with like a huge monitor, like some of our clients have, like this is still, it's like, you got to be like, whoa, how do I see all? You got to zoom way out. Now you
Yeah.
can just rotate and boom, there you go.
Yeah,
Another new
nice.
feature here, I guess, is early access. I haven't played with this inner space, but you can, drag your AP, draw a wall, do some kind of layout, and you can do this for Wi-Fi and cameras. And I guess this might help you if you're trying to see the range or if you're going to have any issues with wireless access. Haven't really done much with it though, but I imagine that this feature might come in handy in the future if you're like mapping out a new network.
Now, how about the adoption? Because you did run into a problem with one of your devices. This is typical of the UniFi stuff. When you go to do an update, you had to run the
Inform command. Yes.
set
So
inform.
if
Yeah.
I come in here, I'm in my access point. So generally what I do, I'll come in here and just type info. You got to SSH into the device. So I believe by default that is UBNT. So you do SSH UBNT @ the IP of the UniFi device you're trying to SSH into. That'd get you in. If you have a self-hosted controller, or even if you have a UniFi network controller on premise, right, like a cloud key, or you have even a self-hosted controller, you have your UniFi account that grants out SSH access. So if I go to settings here, system, where is it? I think it's advanced. Oh, that's SMTP. Yeah, right here. Device authentication. Device SSH authentication. You can use so I just using my UniFi username and then I set a password. That's what I use to authenticate. So I do, I SSH C Kelly 4 @ IP of the device instead of that default UBNT. But if you've
Yeah.
never done this before, more than likely it's going to be UBNT for the username and password. Once you're in there, you can just type info and then you can see here. Sometimes you'll see timeout, random things. In that case, you just run the set inform command. So like this is for my controller that's hosted in the cloud. So it's actually a domain, a resolvable domain. If
Yeah.
it's all self-hosted, like say you have a container running UniFi or you have it running off your Synology NAS, in that case, you might do HTTPS, the IP of the controller, and then 8080 or what is, and then you inform it that way.
All right, cool. All right, we'll wrap it there. Hey, thanks a lot for showing us those new features, Chris.
Yeah, no problem.